Hello, internets. So, BlizzCon started yesterday, and Blizzard came out swinging with a whole lot of stuff. There's some cool things on Heroes of the Storm. There's some cool things on Overwatch. There's some things on StarCraft. There's some things on everything. But the biggest thing, by far, is Legion. With Legion being announced at Gamescom, everybody was already hyped up and ready, and they knew that we were gonna get a whole lot of crap about Legion come BlizzCon, and they delivered. The panel this afternoon will give us a little bit more, but we're just going to go with the base information they gave us from the actual Legion preview panel that started right after the opening ceremony. Just so you know, this is going to be a video strictly based on the zones and the information we've gotten about the zones. Judging by the title, you probably got that. Instead of doing a recap video, I'm just going to put out smaller videos of each particular thing. I'm going to do Demon Hunters next. I'll touch the artifact weapons, don't you worry, because I'm very excited about those, and I'm interested to see all the lore that they put into the artifact weapons, but that's neither here nor there. There'll also be a Dungeons and Raiding video, and then I'll touch on the other IPs that Blizzard has later on. But first and foremost, let's dive into the zones and talk about Legion. So the first zone that they talked about was Vel'Shara. Vel'Shara is totally pretty. It's like the most pretty zone ever, right? So Vel'Shara is being consumed by the Emerald Nightmare. So this is where the Emerald Nightmare raid is going to take place. This is where the Druids were first trained by Cenarius. So it has a lot of lore for the Druids. So that'll be really nice to see. They'll probably get a nice juicy backstory. Sheldrassil, which is a type of world tree, is the gateway to the Emerald Nightmare. And it's been all kinds of jacked up by the Nightmare itself. We'll meet 3 key Archdruids in the zone. There's new satires, lots of new models for the Druid-related things, Moonkin, so on and so forth. So when we actually look at Vel'Shara, it's on the western side of the Broken Isles. It's got Blackrook Hold in there as the dungeon, and then, of course, it's got the Emerald Nightmare access in the zone. So it's a very beautiful zone. It looks very much like the Night Elf starting zone and Ashenvale. It's got that kind of dusky, somber Twilight feel, not the movie Twilight. Like I said, Blackrook Hold is present, and Blackrook Hold, I think, is a really, really pretty looking dungeon from the outside. It seems almost as if it breaks the aesthetic because it doesn't really look like elvish architecture. And I also think it's really interesting that the Raven Lord is the boss there. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the Raven Lord from Heroes of the Storm didn't really have a place from the Raven map. So this is likely him, which is really cool. So they've tied that in. We see some images of new Treant, not so much Treants, but like Ancients. And they look awesome. They kind of have that same aesthetic that the Magic Moose has that we'll be able to get in the next patch if you defeat Heroic or Mythic Archimonde. It's got that blue glowiness. It's got a Night Elf feel. It's a really gentle and pretty looking model. The new Satire models look excellent. They've really upgraded the fidelity on them. They're a lot more interesting looking. They look very menacing compared to what they used to look like. There's also a new Dragonflight that we'll be dealing with. The Storm Dragons, I believe. The ones that are on screen, I'm not sure if they're the Storm Dragons exactly, so don't quote me on that, because there are other dragons in Stormheim as well that you see. So, but these dragons, I think, are really interesting. It's nice to see a new model of dragon, because we're so used to the dragon aspects as they are. These are really nice. It's got the similar typical body style of a dragon, but that head is different. Hopefully these will be a mount in-game, or we'll be able to get them, and there'll be some interesting dynamic to them. They won't just be constant reskins, but it'd be nice to be able to get one of these guys. Now we have the Druid updates and the models that they talked about. So you can see on screen I got the old Moonkin and the new Moonkin that they previewed. The new Moonkin looks much, much better than the old Moonkin. Naturally, it's the same thing the other models went through. Less jagged edges, higher poly count. It's a lot smoother. The feathers look a lot nicer. Hopefully we'll see some feather animation maybe, like the ruffle a little bit, but I'm not going to ask too much. Following that, we have the seal, which I hate the damn seal. I'm not going to lie. I just don't like the seal. I think it's ugly as shit, but that's besides the point. I use the Orca when I play my Druid. But the model fidelity is definitely way higher. It looks a lot nicer. The original Seal model is just so beat and hurting, and this one is definitely much nicer. So the zone itself, like I said, it has the Emerald Nightmare in it. There's some small little things, Malorn's Refuge, the Whispering Bluffs, Moonclaw Vale. It's just a very night elf looking zone. It's beautiful. It's going to be really interesting to see how it works out. Within the zone, once you leave the night elf area, it seems like there's a more human style settling that's likely tethered to the Valkyrie in like some way, like the Braden's Brook area. It looks very human. Kind of reminds me of Gilneas in a way, which is really cool. And then, of course, Blackrock Hold is on screen again, which is just a beautiful, really awesome aesthetic in this zone. All right, so next up we got Stormheim. Yeah, Stormheim. Sorry. So they didn't talk a crazy amount as far as like keynotes that you can find on MMO Champions, so I'll give you what I know. So Stormheim, we're going to get a lot of the backstory from the Valkyr and the Valdir. Yeah, Valdir. Sorry, it's the words and the things. They're difficult, you know. So this is going to be a lot of cool backstory on a race that we haven't seen since Wrath of the Lich King, and we didn't know too much about them. We kind of learned that they suffered from the curse of flesh. They used to be iron, and then eventually they cast out some tiny weak people, and they became the human race. That's the short version of it. The zone is on the eastern side of the Broken Isles, next to High Mountain and and also Suramar. It's more like northeastern, it looks, but it kind of covers the side of the Isles. I mean, the Isles on a perfect circle, so there you go. So we deal with the Valkyr, like I said. The Valkyr, we all know who they are. They're Viking-inspired individuals, very Norse-based, which is awesome. There's an individual in there called the God King, and he is who we're racing to get these pillars that belong to the Titans. We learn the origins of the Valdir and the Valkyr, which is going to be really cool to figure out where they came from. The character models from the old Valkyr and Valdir are upgraded. You can see one character I have on screen right now that they previewed. He looks awesome. The Valkyr look amazing. Typical, you know, that Norse Viking kind of feel. They look similar to the Valkyr from Wrath of the Lich King naturally, but these are more angelic feeling. They're not undead naturally. These are uncorrupted, but of course they're going to be working with the Legion, which is shenanigans. The God King, who's corrupted on screen right here, so we see some fell corruption, similar to what Kilrog looked like and some of the other orcs that were corrupted. You get that one magical hand for some reason, and half of him is just red and torn, but he looks freaking cool. So these dragons right here, I believe these are the Storm Dragons, but then again, I didn't get to hear everything. I was at work, so again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but these dragons, as well as the ones that were in the last zone, could all be Storm Dragons, but these ones to me definitely resound Storm Dragon. These are meaty, they're really angry looking. The other ones are very sleek and slender. These look like they're pissed off huge dragons. They also all have a more serpentine feel that I don't feel is really grasped in some of the other dragon fights. These seem somewhat aquatic. As well in appearance, it's nice. There's kind of like a Naga feel to the head of this one. The zone itself is just beautiful. Lots of mountains. It would be a typical style that you would see in like a fall type setting. It kind of reminds me of Grizzly Hills in its appearance, where it's on the fringe of like a winter or fall type season all the time. A lot of autumn colors. It's definitely a really cool zone, and the trees with faces in them are totally badass. So next we have Azuna, which is southwest of Suramar, and again, everything leads back to Suramar, so that's why all these zones are surrounding. Suramar is the endgame content. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can also see Dalaran in the map. That's kind of where we're situated as far as our major city goes. So Ashara's vengeance is part of this particular area. She just apparently killed and cursed thousands of her own people in the zone right before the Sundering. Why? Because she's crazy. That's probably why. I'm just saying, you know, she's insane. they make note that the view distance in Legion is increased by 3 times, which, based on how these zones look, I think it's really necessary. I mean, the Ashara's Vengeance image that was on screen, you can see everything, and it's beautiful looking, and you want to be able to see that as you're flying around. There's the remaining Blue Dragon flight that's here, or the remnant of it, and in the image you see the models of the Blue Dragons, and they look outstanding. Like, where are these models coming from, man? They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That one dragon looks so freaking cool, man. It's just badass. It's all right. Enough of that. So we have the Warden's Isle in the zone, which is home to the Vault of the Wardens, which the Vault of the Wardens comes in play with the Demon Hunters. I believe that's also a dungeon. Some new character models that are updated that are really, really cool. There's something interesting in this zone that I think can bring up an interesting lore discussion, and that's the Wrath of Ashara, which is this gigantic thing. It's fishy looking. I don't know. It's fishy looking as all hell. And the reason why I question about the lore thing, or I mentioned the lore thing, I'm not really questioning it, is we don't know what happened to Neptulon. There's old gods, and there's corruption. And this guy, for some reason, reminds me of Neptulon. He's got a real Neptulon feel, as far as like the fins around his head kind of look similar to what he looked like. His body type and shoulders look similar. I don't know. It's something there. I don't think it's the case. I think they're just kind of reusing typical like skeletal frames for the models and stuff. But who knows? Maybe Neptulon got corrupted into this weird fish thing. Who knows? There's also new sea giants. The models look outstanding. I love the whole boat hull as a shoulder pad. They're huge. The Naga models have finally been updated as well, and the new fidelity on those models look awesome. It kind of makes me sad that they're not a playable race, simply because the models look so damn good. There's also a new type of Naga that are apparently massive. So, who knows? I don't know. I have no idea. Wardens apparently have owl companions. That's cool. Congrats for the Wardens. I think that would be cool and an interesting thing if Wardens were a playable character or a playable class. That would be pretty awesome, because it's like, okay, now you have a Warden who's kind of like a rogue warrior combination, but they also have a pet. That'd be an interesting take. Why they have owl pets and its relevance, I don't know yet. Maybe there's a lot of relevance to it that we just don't know. The zone itself is beautiful. You can see Dalaran from it. It's definitely elfish feeling. You know that it's a highborn type city. It's not like the Night Elf zone in Val'sharah, where it's kind of dark. This is very bright. It's very happy. Beautiful looking zone. Absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, it gets dank near the water. It's got this, like, really New England, like North American New England feel, where it's kind of gray skied, and it's very, very nice. I like it. So it's pretty. It's pretty. So next up, we have Highmountain. And for me, this is the zone that I'm really excited for. Why am I so excited for it? Because the Tauren are there. And the Tauren are my favorite race in the game. I've played a Tauren since launch. It's just, it's a little soft spot for me. So Highmountain itself is the tallest mountain in Azeroth, or it's one of the largest in Azeroth. And there's 3 ancient Tauren clans that live there. The Drogbar are another sentient race that live there. They're kind of like, not goblins in the sense of what we have, but goblins if you think of the Hobbit movies. They remind me of them. The goblins from the first Hobbit, where there's the Goblin King and they go underground while they're in the mountains and whatnot. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. First one's pretty good. Besides the point, the Drogbar steal an artifact, most likely the Pillar, because they did mention that in Gamescom that the Pillar is the reason why we're here in like each zone. The Drogbar have it, and it's off the Chieftain, who is in Neltharion's Lair, which is another dungeon. So by stealing this artifact, it fractured the Tauren clans, so likely we're going to have to be getting this artifact back, rebuilding the relationship between the Tauren clans, which I think is really cool. Not to mention, they're moose Tauren. They're not even like cow Tauren. They're moose. the bison the bison Tauren made total sense in Wrath of the Lich King. It was funny. These guys now we're going into like, now you got moose and Tauren, and there's some weird breeding stuff going on here, man. I don't know. It's confusing me. That's neither here. I just went on a tangent. The Tauren decorate their horns to show their clan rankings. I think this is an opportunity for Blizzard to also do something cool with the playable characters, in the sense of like tattooing and things along those lines. Like the orcs naturally are a tattooing race. Blood elves could do it. Night elves can do it. Humans can do it. The Tauren have fur. They can't do it, but they can decorate their horns. I think this is a step towards something along those lines, possibly, which would be really neat to have decoration, because it just helps make your character feel more unique. Besides the point, Swiss Alps and Yosemite were the inspiration of the zone, and when you look through the zone itself, you get that feel. It looks very much like Yosemite. It's got the new moose model in there, which we'll see plenty of it because of the moose mount, which is coming out soon, and it's awesome. But there's also the baby moose, which are going to be a battle pet, and you know it. And the baby moose is just so cute. Look at its eyes. Its eyes are so big. It's awesome. There's new harpy models. The new harpies look freaking amazing. Like, I hate harpies themselves in ancient lore and myth. They just, I don't know, something about them just annoy me. But the new models really did them justice. And then the Drogbar themselves look really cool. They look very menacing and threatening. I feel like they're related to Trogs in some way, but we'll have to wait and see. The High Mountain Tauren, I think, look really cool. It's a Tauren model, but those moose antlers really make them very, very unique. And lastly, the Eagle Spear, or it's not the Eagle Spear anymore, but it's the Survival Hunter Spear, is going to take you, the quest will take you into High Mountain. So you guys get to really explore it. But it's definitely a beautiful zone, similar to some of the zones in Stormheim, in the sense that it's a little autumny, but it's a little bit more on like the snowy side in some spots, or foggy rather, not snowy. It's a little misty veil. It's very mystical looking. Definitely very ancient and spiritual. It's an awesome looking zone. And lastly, we have Suramar, the zone to end all zones. This is max level content. So this is the only zone that you won't be able to actually start whenever you want. You got to be max level. So this is where all the shenanigans goes down. This is where Gul'dan is locked down, doing his Gul'dan-y, evil Gul'dan stuff. So Suramar City is intact because mages put a defensive spell around it. Now these are naturally elven mages. So they're essentially the new magic addicts that the Blood Elves were prior to the restarting of the Sunwell. They are called the Nightborn, and they pretty much rely on the energy to live, essentially. So if they don't get it, they literally go through hardcore withdrawals, and they become the Withered. So if you think back to like the the Blood Elf starting zone, the Wretched, it seems like it's similar to that. It's along the same lines, but they look way cooler. If they become permanently withered, if they don't get any sustenance, which is cool. Those are arcane based, not nature based, which is really interesting. And Suramar City is the most ambitious project the team has ever done, according to Blizzard. It's a giant playable night elf metropolis, which is pretty awesome. When you look at the pictures, it looks that way. So it has a night elf feel. It's right in the center of the zone. Suramar City is certainly cool looking. When you see it on the map, it is a capital city. It's not a small little thing that's just kind of a blip on the map. It looks like a capital city. It's misty. It's like a green and bluish and gray color palette, which is awesome. The Nightwell is something that's present there, which is really cool because you have the Sunwell, you have the Well of Eternity, now you have the Nightwell. Awesome sauce. The Nightborn look really cool. They remind me of Night Elves, but thinner, and there seems like there's a semi-Egyptian theme to their armor and some of their adornments, if you will. They also have a very magey theme, which is cool. They look very similar to Dark Elves rather than anything else. If you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, you kind of know what I'm talking about. The Dark Elf is one of the elf races. Female, same thing. The Wretched look freaking gross. They kind of remind me of Gollum, but they stand upright. They're creepy. They're cool. I totally like them. It's awesome. That's more of me just like swooning and being a little bit of hype train. But overall, I'm very pleased with what the zone looks like. I think they've taken an ambitious step in doing this zone. So hopefully it pans out and it turns out to be totally awesome. So that's the overview of the zones in the game and what we know about them so far. Naturally, we don't know a crap ton of lore. There's a panel today. Maybe we'll find out some more on it. It definitely looks amazing. So far, the team has put in a lot of work in the zone development from what we've seen. And in Warlords, gameplay may have been lacking, but the art team did work really hard, and they produced some beautiful zones and beautiful models for us. So hopefully the art team just keeps going hard with that. It looks like they are, and they're going to deliver us an amazing looking expansion. Let's just check out the gameplay and systems and hope that they hold up along with the artwork as well. That's all I have. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you think these zones are totally awesome. If you don't like them, let me know if I said anything that was totally wrong and I misinterpreted it. That'd be awesome. Take it easy, people.